Hi guys, it's Ryan here from leprivatebanker.com, just doing one nightly recap for crude oil and gold, and soon to feature the S&P 500. We'll start off with the higher time frames here. So I'm going to run starting with the weekly, and you can see on the weekly that we're starting to see one time frame in higher now. I mean, we've clearly seen the support hold into the 1240s, and the market's one time frame in higher, and we're just hitting this trend line at the moment. I mean, this was the previous wedge that we was in, and obviously this trend line is still providing support overhead resistance here currently. So quite important next 2 days. I mean, we're either going to see a continuation and bulls push through this resistance, and I'll explain on the other time frames later in a minute. Or we will sort of just respect this overhead resistance and maybe possibly explore some lower prices back down to the 50s. That has yet to be seen yet. So I'm just going to look at explain some things that I was looking going into today's session. So this is the weekly developing value and last week's value, and we see an imbalance start at the beginning of the week, and we basically just see a reversion back to last week's value. And since then we've just found buyers in the market. We've seen a reversion to the mean, and what I was looking for into today's trade was a potential rotation back down to the 1266s, and maybe to explore some lower prices, but we couldn't see that, and we ended up basically rotating, seeing two-way trade into the developing value area high, into the value area high from last week, into this week's mean, which ended up just seeing a spike up into the developing value area high for this week after the FMC minutes came out today. In today's pit session, it was very just balanced two-way trade. I mean, these are the TPOs for the RTH pit session from 8:20 Eastern Time till 1:30 Eastern Time, and they're the RTH pit hours for gold. And as you can see, we just basically didn't do anything. We just stayed in about a 5-point range for the whole day. So what I did going into today with expectations is we opened just a gap up from yesterday's trade into this overhead support here from this long liquidation. And so I just basically got short off the open with a stop above the previous day's Globex high, looking for a reversion back into this sort of value area, and maybe some expiration sort of price to the downside to fill some volume in. But we just couldn't see that, and we just basically started to rotate and reject the previous day's value, and we just sort of one time frame up after finding support here. So if we look at the charts for today, this is the Globex chart. I mean, this is where we came up and tested the Globex high off the open. I positioned myself short here from 73.3 I got filled, and with stops above the high, and we see this nice rotation back to the mean, and we just see basically buyers responsive with just two-way trading to come back into the market. So before the FMC minutes came out, and you can see the market spiked down, and we just seemed to find offer in the market, and we put in a new high. And the high from yesterday. So if we look at the moving averages on the RTH, I mean, we opened up above the moving averages, the fast time frame moving averages, but we were looking pretty flat. And obviously, because we've seen buying today back up to the 50 EMA, they've been pulled up. So you can see just potential two-way trade bracketing coming in this market, and you can see this pretty clearly here. So just have to see where we go and what we do from here. But we just, like I said, clear to sort of two-way trade balance come back into the market. So I mean, we could see a spike above 1283s, and we could see sellers responsive, and then the breakdown, it's not too clear yet what we are doing here, but just clear balance two-way trade back in the market, like I said. So not much to do on this today, and still waiting for it to show its cards, and just very neutral on this market at the minute, waiting for some new information with a possibility of a reversion back to the mean on the higher time frames. I mean, this is the sort of composite I've been tracking, and we've just been filling in some volume in this low volume node, and we're maybe expecting a rotation back to 1293s. If not, we will most likely come back down and start exploring this lower distribution that we were trading in and fill some volume in down here. So we just have to see how things play out here and just take it day by day. I'm just going to quickly run through crude oil. Crude oil has just rolled over, so I've rolled over my charts just a minute ago. I mean, we was trading the July contract, but we've just rolled over to the August contract because of the volume has rolled over, and we're seeing expiration on this contract. So just something to note here, because obviously I've got new levels. Today I was trading the June contract still. So here is the the upper distribution that we're currently in at the minute. I mean, you see this bracketing area form at the highs, and we finally found offer, and value pushed price higher, and now we're sort of balancing in this upper distribution, and the moving averages are currently playing catch up. And just something to note here, obviously we still have these gaps below us, so possibility to come clean these gaps up now. But this is the current distribution that we're looking at. So this was today's trade. We basically just opened up above the point of control and just found sellers back down to this lower distribution. You can see this a bit more clearly if you split it like this. So we had this balance day, we had the spike in K period. You can put that with that composite if you want, but I'm going to blend it in with this. And you can see how we were just we opened up inside the value area, we just came up testing this sort of higher mean prices, and we just found some sellers here sort of into the rollover. So just filling in some volume up here, and we clearly have created an area of value and interest in the market. So even if we do break down and come down, test these lower areas, the expectations to come up and trade back to this 106.30s, possibly with maybe an excess higher to clean the market up, or a breakout. So we just have to see how this plays out. Looking at this week's value, we have got a skew to the sell side, and we are back accepting last week's value area now. So if we can't find any offer here above the 105.92s, the expectation is to revert back to last week's mean and possibly to last week's value area low, which will be into this lower section of where the gap is open currently. On the higher time frames, we're still playing catch up. You can see we've had a large responsive buy-in here off this year's developing value, and value is currently playing catch up. So some more balance in two-way trade, and maybe a possible correction will start to pull value to price, and we will see if we're going to come in for a mean reversion or continue to push higher and clean up last year's highs. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for today. I'll just quickly run through the trade locations for the day. So off of the open, I mean, we opened up inside value from yesterday's trade. So from the perception of an intraday perspective, we have nothing changed from yesterday because we've opened back up in value. So you could do two things. You either wait for an extreme, or you wait for the market to show its cards and go with the order flow. And what we see here is the initial balance, and then we see the breakdown and an imbalance created. So if you didn't manage to get short on the imbalance before the inventories came out at 10:30, there was a perfect entry as we spiked back up to yesterday's mean, and we had confidence with today's IB and the Vwap for developer Vwap on the day. So you would have got short from this area, stops inside of the initial balance and above the Vwap, and then you look to scales into yesterday's low of day, not your low of day, sorry, yesterday's value area low, and then into yesterday's low of day, and they would have been the trade the scales, and then your core position you could have either got filled into what I believe was 105.80, but obviously because the back adjusted contracts rollover, it's a different price level now. It would have been into sort of the 105.40s if you were trading this contract today, and then you would have if you didn't exit and get your target for the day, you would have either got out the break of the 1.5 standard deviation or the break back into value where the market came back into balance for two-way trade in the market. So yeah, that's how we would have managed crude oil today. You could have been a buyer, I suppose, from the lows of this distribution, but from what I can see, there was two-way trade in the market today, so you could have approached this from both angles. You could have been a buyer at the low of this distribution, but obviously the favourable side was the sell side after the inventories came out. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for today, and any questions, please ask me on the forum, or send me an email, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Take care and goodbye.